Hi there, it's Ms. Nowakowski coming to you from the studio at Grauer Elementary in the Richmond School District. The project I'm going to share with you in today's video is an isometric star. And this is a paper folding project. And you can see I've got different sized papers will produce different sizes of stars. And this one, I've added some color with paint, but you could use crayons or markers, pencil crayons, whatever you have. So all you need for this project is a piece of regular size letter paper. If you have some heavier cardstock, you could also use that, but if it's too heavy, you won't be able to fold it. And then you'll need a ruler, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. So this star is folded on an isometric grid. And when we usually think about grids, we think about a grid like this. So it has parallel lines going up and down, and perpendicular lines going across, and each intersection creates a 90-degree angle or a square angle or square corner. In an isometric grid, you have 30-degree angles, and usually the grid is in triangles. So I'll show you how to make the grid and then fold the star from the isometric grid. Okay, to begin, we have a regular letter size piece of paper. And I'm going to fold it across the middle line here, fold it in half. And it's especially important when you're doing this, creating this isometric grid, that you fold the fold both ways so that the hinges are well reticulated. They'll move back and forth quite easily. Okay. We'll just go back and forth a couple of times. And then we're going to fold it into fours in the same way. So again, up from the bottom, go to the middle center line that you've just folded and fold that section in half. And then you're going to do the opposite on the other side as well. Okay, the next step, and again, I've got divided into fours, and all of these folds are folded back and forth a couple of times. I'm going to take my bottom right corner, and I'm going to bring it up to the center line here. Not the center line, but this folded line here. And then I'm going to adjust it, keep adjusting it so that this end of the triangle is right at the intersection of the center fold line with the edge of the paper. I'll just keep moving it. I'm not pressing this down yet till I have this right in place. And again, this corner here needs to be touching this fold line. There we go. So now I can press this down with my fingers. And now I'm going to fold the paper in half, kind of like we're doing a paper airplane. And I'm going to fold this side over so that it's exactly the same as this fold, symmetrical. And I can use my fold line here to help me do that. So I'm lining it up against the fold line, and before I press it down, I make sure it's lined up all the way across and press it down. And when I open that up, I see those two fold lines here, and I'm just going to cut along both of those fold lines to cut off those two triangles. And I'll do the same to the other side. You might be able to begin to see now how the hexagon is forming. Two sides of the hexagons are now cut to the right size, 1, 2. And now I'm going to take this corner here that's at the end of the center fold, kind of like an arrow, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom here. And match that up with the bottom of the paper. And again, I'm going to slide it along and adjust this until the corner here is aligned with the bottom as well. Just try and get that as exact as you can. And then once you have that, then press it down right across the hexagon here. And I'm gonna see. Now, you can either just cut across here, but I'm gonna just use my pencil lightly here and go over those two edges and cut those, and then you'll see the hexagon. Okay, so I've cut this piece, and now I'm just gonna cut across my pencil line here as straight as I can. And now you can see that I've got the hexagon, 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, as with any folds, And make sure that you fold back and forth to make sure that all those fold lines are like hinges and nicely reticulated. So these were our original fold lines that folded our paper into fourths, and you can see one goes across the horizontal here of the hexagon, and then we've just folded it again, and when we opened it up we got another horizontal across here, and then we want to create the one more from this corner to this corner here. I'm just going to fold this in half this way to create that last center fold. You can see 3 large triangles there. So now 6 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just going to fold this back the other way, and we're starting to get our isometric grid. Can you see some other shapes living in the hexagon right now? The next step is to complete our isometric grid, and to do that we're going to start with the bottom edge here. You can see that it runs parallel to this top edge, and we're just going to fold it up to the center. We're going to look for that sort of center folded point here, the midpoint, and bring it right up to the midpoint here. You can see how the fold lines line up. We want to make sure we have as many of those lines lined up as we can. You can see this fold lined up here, and this fold line meeting that center point there. And once you've got it in a good position, use your other fingers to then create the fold across the bottom. And then we're going to do that on the opposite side as well. Same thing, folding up from the bottom. I'll just lift that so I can see a little bit better. Lining up with the fold lines as best we can, and then creasing across the bottom. And remember, for each of these folds, to make sure that you're folding back and forth a couple of times. Now we need to do that we've done it here and here, so now we need to rotate our hexagon and do that as well here. And then the opposite. Let's see if we've got them all. I think that's it. This side, I can just kind of turn it and make sure that I've got all of these edges folded up. Okay, and there's our isometric grid for folding. Okay, so in our isometric grid we have 5 equilateral triangles here, same on this side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on these 2 rows. So 14, we have 24 equilateral triangles making up our isometric grid. So we have one more set of folds to do, but I'm just going to share a term here. So in math, there's very specific terms, particularly in geometry. So the line that is created when we fold from or draw a line from vertex to vertex across the diagonal is called a radial line. So we have 3 radial lines here from across vertexes or vertices. And the other type of fold from one side to across the other side is called an amphithem line, and it's folding from the midpoint of a straight edge between 2 vertices to the other one. So I'm going to fold in half, connecting this midpoint and this midpoint this way. So we'll have 3 of those as well. So there's 1, and then this midpoint to this midpoint. This is creating more triangles of different sizes. And then which one? I've got this midpoint, oh, now this midpoint to this midpoint. And again, I will make sure I go back and forth on all these folds so that they're nicely reticulated. But you can see there, we still have our equilateral triangles around the outside, but now we have some smaller triangles on the inside. Now we're going to start folding the star. So again, really important that you folded all those folds back and forth. I'm going to take and sort of pinch here 2 of these equilateral triangles together. And you can see that those come together both sides there. And then I'm going to go to the next one, and again, just push those 2 together. You can see here the paper's buckling a little bit. And I just put my fingers underneath, pinch this part, try to get that fold popped out. And again, this is where paper is really flexible, and you just have to kind of keep working with it. See how I'm putting my fingers here? That's kind of creating a valley fold in each of those as I push these 2 triangles together. Then again, put these fingers in here and then push those 2 triangles together. I just keep going around and doing that to each section. So again, 2 equilateral triangles, bringing them together. Again, the more you go around, the more secure the folds will be. Okay, and you can see there we've got our 6-sided, 6-pointed isometric star created. And then when we turn it over on that side, we see a sort of a 3D relief version of that. Sort of popping out. This one pops in, this one pops out. And again, you can now go in with crayons or markers or paint and add color or patterns or designs to add to your isometric star.